All right, Joseph, welcome to the podcast, my friend. It's been you deserve to be here, which I know is something you just kind of mentioned before we hit the recording. So, for the audience sake, tell us how did you end up here? How long you been doing this? Where do you sell real estate? How did we get started? Give us an understanding of who you are.
Yeah, well, my name is Joe Garcia. I'm here. I sell in New Jersey. I've been licensed for 2 years now, and just like before you even started recording, I said, "Mama, I made it." Because everybody that wants to join Brandon, that joins Brandon, this is where you want to be, one on one with the man himself.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and I'm excited to tell people, Joe, kind of your story because it's gonna be fun, and I say that because you are the type of person who super coachable, who has worked really, really hard to get here. So let's just kind of tell the whole story. Let's rewind 2 years ago, walk people through, okay, how you got started in the business. What were some of the early mistakes that you made? Was there any big aha moments to say, man, what did I get myself into? Like, tell us about the early days 2 years ago when you first got started selling real estate.
Yeah, so 2 years ago I got in because my aunt, she was like, Joe, you like to talk a lot. Might as well start selling some houses. And I was in college. I it was so funny. She and my mom was like, you can a couple open houses maybe this weekend, the next, and then pop a check, 10 grand, 20 grand, and that's it. You're 21 years old. And then when I got into the business, I was like, wait, this is not that. This is not that. But so in the beginning, it was kind of, I was in school and I was also doing this. So the first year I didn't really do too much. 2023, that's when I really, really picked it up. And I realized in, I think, late January, early February, one of a friend of mine that's in the business, his name is Anthony Vetrano. He was like, listen, you got to get some coaching. You got to interview a couple coaches. Do it now. And then I joined your program in early May of 2023 and been rocking and rolling since.
It's awesome. And so you're really starting to see your hard work start to pay off. And the reason why I want to have you on the podcast is talk about, what it's like to be a young, brand new person to this sales business, which can be very, very challenging, as you know. And so what were some of the early struggles that you went through that maybe some of the newer agents watching or listening to the show can maybe say, yep, I'm going through that right now, Joe? What were some of the early things that you really struggled with?
So one of the early things was the age. That was like, it was a really big thing in my mind. I was like, oh, that, I'm gonna sell a $500,000 property, $1 million property, and I'm 23. So that was something that I was really, really thinking about. But one day we were in a coaching call and you said, and you're like, listen, that's the best thing. That's the best thing about you. You're 23. That's your value proposition. That's great. When they tell you you look young, smile and tell, yeah, I am young. But that's why people hire me, because nobody's going to work as hard to break into this market than me. So it's so funny. It became something that I was really fearful of. And then it became my value proposition. It's to all my clients that I meet and they work with me. That's why they hire me.
I love it. So good. And what market are you in again? You're in
I'm in
Jersey, right?
Jersey. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's the average price point there?
Average price point is about 450.
Yeah, it's awesome, right? So, I mean, you've got a couple $1 million of business now that you're working on in 2024. And so, what type of income will that represent, do you think, by the end of this year?
So the end of this year, with pending closed and also pre-listing, that looks like just shy of 100,000 in GCI.
Yeah, which is always the goal, right? Of somebody newer getting into the business. A lot of people want to make this six-figure income because that'll be the first time you've ever cracked that six-figure income, correct?
Yeah, and last year it was 10. Last year was 10.
Yeah.
So yeah,
From $10,000 a year to 100,000 in just 1 year. I mean, that's a massive, massive transformation. Again, that's the story, right? So let's talk to people. How is it that you're doing this? First off, when it comes to lead generation, I know the approach that you take. You take a proactive approach to that. You prospect every single day. Before we break that down, why do you still feel like a lot of newer agents, especially people that are younger, fight that so much? They don't want to prospect. They want to do social media. They want to do all the sexy stuff, Joe. They want to avoid prospecting like crazy. Why do you feel like they fight that so much?
I think because it's the path of least resistance. And you talk to us a lot about that. And unfortunately, that's what the case is. And a lot of brokers and agents in my market, they feel the same way. We don't need to do prospecting. We don't need to cold call for 4 or 5 hours a day. We don't need to make 50 contacts. We can just post an open house story and we're gonna get business. And I feel like that's the story that's being taught. And I'm glad that I connected with you early on in my career so I can, cut away the bad habits and form good ones to then lead to a successful business.
Yeah, because people in your company, I don't know. I mean, every company is a little bit different, but I mean, are you one of the only agents that are going out there every single day and trying to prospect for listings?
Yeah, yeah, and some people, I it was so funny. There was somebody that told me, I can't believe you're calling an agent. I can't believe you're calling at 7:55 in the morning. She was like, I would murder you. And I was like, it's so funny because that same picture I posted on my story, I said daily prospecting is 7:55 in the morning. I said that same person, she was angry at me. And funny enough, with the pattern interrupt, with getting motivation, we were able to generate a lead and we're looking to meet maybe sometime in October. So it's so crazy how people have this really bad mindset, but with the skill set you gave me, I kind of feel like I have a moral obligation to contact these people to help them because this is what we're doing. We're in the business of helping people.
That's right. And to your point, productive agents piss off unproductive agents. Why? Because just to your point, the agent that isn't doing anything to grow their business looks at an agent such as yourself to say, well, who are you, this 23-year-old little punk that's going out there and generating all this business? It's like the mirror effect that we talk about. It's like you're holding up a mirror to them, making them feel badly about all the things they're not doing. And what I always say is like the most productive agents in a brokerage, for whatever reason, become enemy number one. Why? Because it's very rare to find real estate agents that actually do the work, that actually prospect. Most brokerages have 100, 200, 300 agents, and there's like two or three that actually do any business, and the rest are just hanging out, moping around, bitching, complaining, oh, the market, the good old days, oh, that Joe guy. That's what they're made up of. How have you, as a young, newer entrepreneur, been able to fight that drama and push through the noise?
Well, I look a lot at your videos and all the coaching calls. I try to attend them to the best of my ability. And from what I've gathered is if the prospect, in order for the prospect to see you as better, you first have to be different. And I understand the norm of this business is to wait, kick your feet up, and let business come to you. But I'm the complete opposite. I like to get dirty. I like to get my hands dirty. I want to be the agent that you're screaming at 7:55 in the morning because I know that I can help you.
Yeah,
So that is, and you say this a lot all the time. You say the best thing about this business is that not a lot of people are going to be put themselves in this position to be uncomfortable to actually do the hard work. And you said you're like, there's peace in knowing that because guys like you and I, we're gonna do the work. We're gonna do the 50 contacts a day. There's no problem about that. There's no problem for me, for any of the guys that we call together. And so that's fantastic about this business.
that's
But
right.
yeah, I just try to push through that because I know that if I do, I will be more uncomfortable. I will grow and the income will grow and the amount of people that I help will also increase as well. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah. And just knowing that, I think you've made peace with the fact that success is lonely at the top, that the more successful you become, the bigger the target is on your back with all the other agents that are lower producers in your market. And you're okay with that, right?
Yeah, I'm completely okay with that. I'm not here to please others. I'm here to do business and help other people.
That's right. I love it. Great mindset. Okay. So let's break down your business and talk about what is working. So when we look at lead generation, again, the methodology in which you apply in your business is direct outbound prospecting, meaning that you are proactively generating conversations with homeowners. You're not purchasing leads. You're not doing any of that stuff. Are you calling? Are you door knocking? What are you doing specifically?
So I cold call every single day for 3 to 4 hours. Um, I actually pulled the numbers back from when I first started. I have 1,173 hours on the dial. I have just shy of under 10,000 contacts, 9,567. And that leads me to about 3.5 hours per day and 37 contacts per day.
It's amazing. First off, you deserve a lot of credit. You actually track your numbers. You've talked to almost 10,000 people, which has allowed you, because we talk a lot about the learnings and the doing, it's allowed you to actually build confidence, build a skill set that you didn't have when you first started this. Because if we go back and say, okay, your first call versus what you would do today, probably a big difference. Would you agree?
Oh man, my first call was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'm just like, "What were you doing? Stop!"
Yeah, it's so
Yeah, yeah,
funny.
yeah.
All
No,
right,
it's a
so
definitely 9 day difference.
and we're going to talk about skills a lot. We're going to really break that down. So if I'm listening to you talk, Joe, you're saying, you've done almost 1,200 hours of cold calling and prospecting. It's 3 to 4 hours a day. It's 37 people a day that you're talking to. I'm saying to myself, well, who in the world is this guy calling? What lead sources are you working?
For sell by owner, expired, and absentee with a little bit of bullseye prospecting.
Yeah, love it. And where do you get your data? Do you use a lead provider or data provider to get the contact information?
I use My Plus Leads, and I also use Mojo to dial.
Yeah, love it. It's awesome. Okay, so you've got 3 or 4 lead pillars that you're going after. You're talking to 37 people per day on average. Usually takes you between 3 and 4 hours, 3 to 5 hours rather. How many leads do you typically get on a daily or weekly basis, and how many listing appointments are you typically setting and going on in a maybe a given month?
So in a month, well, for let's start with the leads. So the leads, I'll probably generate maybe 2 to 3 per day. That would maybe equate to around, I think that would be like 12 per week. I'm just always shy of maybe 35 or hitting that 40 mark at the end of the month for leads. Appointments is typically between, of course, it's a little bit different each month, but it's around 8 to 12. 8 to 12 per month. That and I'm finding myself going on appointments. August has been a little bit slow because I went on vacation, but maybe two appointments a week.
It's great.
Two
You're
to three
going,
appointments a week, yeah.
yep, you're going on 2 to 3 listing appointments per week, where most agents don't go on 2 to 3 listing appointments a year, right? And it's all because of how much prospecting you're doing. Okay, so let's break down the skills piece. So in these conversations, when you first started, you weren't very good at it. You probably weren't getting 40 leads per month. You weren't setting 8 to 12 listing appointments per month. You weren't going on 2 to 3 appointments per week. What's been different? What are some of the things, the techniques that you've learned that's helped you get these type of results?
Well, before anything, I want to say this quick funny story. In
Sure.
July, I talked to you, you ripped me to shreds, and this is not ripped me to shreds in a bad way. You shot me straight. You said, "Hey, can I be honest with you, Joe? We did a role play. You said, listen, your tonality trash. You got to do better. You got to role play more." So from then to now, complete night and day difference. But what I was doing was the "Hey, how you doing?" And now I got into your piece of like the pattern interrupt, gaining desire, motivation, the DART framework, and the closing of the call. So it's been completely different as far as now to then.
So let me ask you specifically, and thank you for that. That's why you're so coachable. I can coach you hard. You don't take it personally. You just go and get better, and as a
Yeah.
result, you start making more money. So it's a win-win. Okay, I want to talk about the hardest part of a cold call is the first 15 seconds. The vast majority of people that try cold calling and say it doesn't work is because they don't have a skill set that allows them to even ask the first question on whatever script they're using. And so therefore it's very defeating. And I want to ask you specifically, when you used to like make a cold call and approach it like a lot of people do, where they're just like, "Hey, this is so and so with such and such company. How you doing today?" Versus using a strategic pattern interrupt. What's the difference, if you had to guess, on which of those, what percentage of success are you getting based on those two strategies. So in other words, if you're saying, hey, how are you doing today? What percentage of the time were you even able to get past that to ask the first question on the script versus your success rate now getting past the first 15 seconds?
So it's so 40% for how you doing and 80% for pattern interrupt.
That's right. And so it's always about double. And that's why, you know what I mean? It's always double. So if you're going to spend the time, energy, and effort making the calls, which I think you and many others want to do, it's so motivating that 8 out of 10 you're able to have a decent conversation with. It's very unmotivating when you're sitting there doing the work, putting in the work, making the dial, and you can't even get past the first 15 seconds. So you changed just one thing and you went from a 40% success rate to an 80% success rate. Is that right?
100%.
All right. Now, talk to us about appointment setting. And if there's a technique, if there's a script, is there something that you've learned that allow you to take these conversations from never talked to this person before to getting them to invite you to come to their house and interview to list and sell their house?
Yeah, so it's very, very straightforward. If me and you are having a conversation, I'm getting a little bit of motivation about why you want to sell, where you're looking to go, timeline, and reason. It's very, very important to get that because without that, you can't bridge the gap. That's what you're
right.
talking about, the bridge always you're talking about. So then let's just say I got all those four things, then I go in for the kill. Can I make a recommendation?
Can we role play that so the audience can hear it? Yeah. So let's pick up. So you've got all my motivation, and to your point, so the audience can follow along. You've got my desire. I want to sell. I've got the ability to sell. I've got specific reasons on why I want to sell, and I've given you the timelines on when I would like to actually make the move. And so we're in that conversation. You've already uncovered all that motivation. Now you get to the point of the conversation where it's like, hey, listen, can I make a recommendation? Pick up from there.
Yeah. Can I make a recommendation, Brandon?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Well, listen, I don't know if this is crazy, but you seem like an honest guy. I think you're going to tell me. But would it be ridiculous if maybe you invited me over to the property one day this week? When I'm there, I can share exactly what's working well with my clients to get them the price that they want, but not only the price they want, in the time that they need. And then after that meeting is over, then me and you can both decide if we should do business together. Because let's face it, Brandon, let's face it. You're not the type of guy that's going to do anything unless it made sense. Am I wrong in that?
Beautiful. Put you right on the spot on a live podcast, going to go on to YouTube in front of the whole world, and boom, you nail it. Talk to us about the importance of role play that it's allowed you to get to that level of skill. What type of intensity are you bringing to your skill development?
My old role play partner, me and Kareem, we were back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It was like a knife fight. I'm talking about every single day from 7 a.m. to 7:45 before we hop on the court. And I'm talking about we went through objections, we went through everything. And I love how you teach us how to practice the script. Is instead of doing the script one time, let's focus, let's do sections. The first week, we're doing pattern interrupt. Second week, we're asking the second, third, and fourth question. The third week, recommendation, and then next steps. So I'm talking about, I've been role playing consistently for the better part of a year now.
Great. How often? Daily?
Every single day. Every single day. And then I got myself a new role play partner. Easy. He's in this community. He's great. And we've been doing it since February, every single day, sometimes even Saturdays and Sundays.
Amazing. Good for you. Okay, let's talk about the importance of lead follow-up, and then we're going to shift over to the listing appointment. So most agents that I talk to really struggle with lead follow-up. They don't have any systems or processes or organization around keeping track of their leads and then turning those leads into appointments. How important has lead follow-up been in your business to turn all these leads that you're generating into future appointments?
It's been incredible. When I first started, I was doing literally 60, 70 contacts a day, and I didn't follow up with nobody. And I remember we had a conversation about that November, December. You're like, Joe, you have to do a better job at following the system. And then that's when my business actually changed. When I started, keeping tabs, following up, following your system, which has, I think that has the biggest effect in my business, the follow-up.
The follow-up, yeah. And I mean, because again, you can put in the work and make all the calls and prospect, but what I've always told people is like, if you're not going to follow up and you don't have a follow-up system, you might as well not even prospect. Yes, you can get some appointments here and there, but you won't to the extent that you're getting them now. What percentage of the appointments you're setting are coming out of lead follow-up, coming out of the pipeline versus just the first contact you've talked to somebody for the first time? What percentage?
So it's half.
It's
Half.
50.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if you call it 8 appointments in 1 month, 4 are coming from people you talked to once, and then another 4 are coming out of the database or coming out of that lead follow-up. And most people don't do any follow-up, so they don't really reach that potential, right?
100%. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Shifting gears, let's talk about the listing appointment and how important that is. When you push everything aside, that listing appointment's the most important part of this entire process. Because if you can't get in front of a seller and demonstrate your value and become the obvious choice, you're wasting your time in this industry. You might as well go do something else, right? So talk to us about maybe some of the techniques or some of the parts of the listing presentation that I've taught you that have really helped you to go out there and win business.
Yeah, well, in June, this better than anybody. I went from I set 16 appointments, met with 8, and signed 1. This is June this year.
Yeah.
And 6 out of the 8 listed with somebody else. So they were on the market. They probably on the contract. They probably even sold already by this point.
Yeah.
So we had a really big conversation, and you spent a lot of time with me. We did 40 minutes of the cause and effect. And once you put it into perspective like that to me, I took 2 things away. First, do a better job at setting the expectation. So actually uncovering what think it over means, what I just not sure. Like, all of these little things that the prospect gives you at the end, trying to close at the beginning.
That's right.
So that's what I changed. And the second thing was in the role play, I noticed that, man, you were so fluid, you were so conversational. It was completely different from what I was doing. I was just trying to be like a robot. Let's just be a robot. Let's stick to the script. But no, when I saw it, and I was like, wow, I watched that clip 100,000 times. You're just like so good and so fluid. So then I just try to mirror how you were not talking, because I wasn't taking your words, but how you were responding and your fluidity and your consistency in your tone. So those are the 2 things. The expectations, the agenda is something that I really dove deep in. And now my last 4 appointments, I took my last 3 listings.
It's amazing. So one, just for the audience sake, you've changed how you open the conversation because you were struggling on how to, everyone thinks they have a closing problem. Brandon, I get to the end, everything goes great, and I try to close for the listing, and I get all types of objections, pushback, resistance, etc. That you learn was a problem not with what you were doing at the end, but what you were not doing at the beginning. That's number 1.
Yes.
Number 2, then it all came down to your delivery. Because what I often talk about with you is it's not what you say, it's how we make people feel. And most people, to your point, bring up the script, read the script, and think that the words on the script are the magic. The words on the script are not magic. It's what you do to make somebody feel a certain way through the script that makes the difference, right?
100%.
And what you learned how to do was, all right, I need a little bit of showmanship. I need to actually be able to deliver these words on this piece of paper to cultivate a feeling, an emotion in the seller, to get them to feel that you're the right agent.
100%. Yeah, I couldn't even say that better. You did. Yep, 100%.
Yeah, I love it. And as a result of all this work, it's starting to manifest now. You've gone 3 for 3 in the last 3.
Yes.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So now, because this is just the start of your story, I can't wait to have you back on in a year from now, because what things look like now are different than what they looked like just 90 days ago.
100%.
I mean, you just talked about in June. I mean, that's just a couple of months ago. You set 16, went on 50%, took 1. In September, What's the goal in September for this month when we're shooting this podcast?
I used to take 4 listings.
It's to take a listing a week.
Yep.
And
I have an appointment after this.
yeah. And I know that, I mean, it can be that fast. People are going to look at you and think that's an overnight success, but it's not. It was 2 years of you crawling through the shit, as we talk about, right? Like the movie Shawshank
Redemption.
Tell people about the pain that you've gone through to get to the point now that most people just want to get to right away.
Listen, the pain pendulum has been this side this whole entire time, and now it's coming this side. You love talking about the pain pendulum, and it's so funny because my dad is always telling me about this as well. Like for us in life, you're gonna have way more bad days than you're gonna have good days. And when you have those good days, you have to remind the bad days are coming. So my dad would always tell me, listen, just keep your head down, keep working, keep doing it. You're gonna get something. And just like how you were telling me in my other ear, which is funny enough, and it was just a lot of pain. It was a lot of suffering, going on a lot of appointments where you're just like not getting the business. You're like, what in the world? What's going on? And let's trust me, I had a lot of those, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't have it any, and I believe that 100% in my heart when I wouldn't have it any other way.
Because now when I say the words, the learning is in the doing, that actually has a meaning. I say that, I don't know, a couple hundred times a week on a podcast, a couple hundred times a week in coaching call. Until you've lived that, you don't even know what I mean. Tell us what the learning in the doing means to you, because what people think is, oh, I could just learn the script. Give me the script, I'll be fine. That ain't going to do anything. You actually have to do it. You got to go out into the battlefield, get your face kicked in for the real learning to take place. What does learning, the learnings in the doing mean to you now?
It's just going through the mud, crawling through the shit. The red, what is it called? The movie again?
The Shawshank Redemption.
I remember you said this is the homework for tonight. Do it, watch it. I was like, oh man, this movie is amazing. But
it was a good movie, right?
Oh, it's amazing. It's one of my favorite movies. But just to give you an idea of what the learning and the doing is, the first couple months I was trying to learn the script, just doing my daily activities. Yes, okay. I said, all right. So you talked about these 3 things: volume, mindset, and time. Or excuse me, volume, skills, and time. That's the success formula that you preach to us, which I think is fantastic. So now that I was like, in the first couple of months, I was like, okay, I'm doing the work. Now let's ramp it up. I was doing maybe 60 contacts a day, hitting 100 a couple times, just doing all this crazy stuff. And I was like, okay, my volume is there, but my skills are not there yet.
Yes.
Okay, so let's scale back. Let's do more role play. Let's do 50 conversations with a lot of role play. Okay, perfect. And then as time went on, you keep training while doing the heavy volume. Like, it's just a formula that you can't lose. But that's what learning the doing is. Being on the phone for 8 hours when people are like, yo, what are you going to do? You're still doing this? You haven't got a listing in 4 months. In 5 months, what are you doing? Just do open house, sit there, get a buyer lead, Zillow. Why don't you work this rental? So it's a lot of people. It's the girl in the red dress. It's the girl in the red dress, like how you talk about often. And the learning isn't doing, is actually doing the work. You can give us all the tools, and like you say, it's the information of knowledge. The more knowledge you get, the more you want, but you just got to do the work. Just do the work.
That's right.
The worst thing that can happen is somebody saying no. Brandon, that's the worst thing. And people don't want to make the phone call. So just do the work.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, again, it's like people are seeing you now where you're going to do 3-4 listings in September. And my belief is that you're going to be a 50 listing year producer all of next year, closing 40, 50 deals next year. And they'll look at that as like being the overnight success without knowing what you've crawled through, so to speak, to get there. Because everybody wants the result, but very, very rarely are people willing to put 2 years of hard work on the line without seeing instant results to get to where you are now. So you deserve a lot of credit. So as you look ahead, right? So with the skills that you have and you look at 2025, if you start to list 50 houses a year, which is about a listing a week, and let's just say you close 40, I don't know what your goals are if you've thought about it that much yet, But what does next year look like? What do you think you can accomplish in 2025 income wise?
I think I can do that. I think if I actually do what I'm doing every single day, I can hit a half a million. My goal was to do 200,000, but now that you just opened up my eyes, I said, I am doing the work more than anybody. Why can't I take 50 listings a year? Of course.
That's
So
right.
now that's going into the business plan when I do it in October when we do it.
That's right. Yeah. So you're getting $10,000 a check on average in your, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
So
around
yeah,
10 or 11. Just, but I'm splitting hairs.
sure. That's great. Um, I mean, I got to ask you, I mean, like, what do your parents think of this success? I mean, what do your friends think? You know what I mean? It's like, you can get into a little bit, but like people, what are they thinking of all this?
Man, Brandon, dude, I got a story to tell you. So when I was gonna join your coaching, when I was gonna join your coaching, I talked to my mom. I said, "Listen, this is a great opportunity. I just had a closing a month ago. I have some money. Why don't I invest it?" And she was like, "Dude, you're gonna have to put half of that on a credit card." And she was like, "Don't do it. Save." And I said, 5 minutes after I talked to Colton, signed up. And I told my mom and my dad 2 weeks later. They're like, what is wrong with you? Why would you put it on the card?" And I was like, "Listen, this is the price you have to pay to grow." And now, it's so funny. Sometimes I do like the role play with them, and I kind of make a recommendation. And I do like the closes with them. And they're like, "Damn, that Brandon guy is good. This is what he's teaching you." And then so now, no, but now they were in the beginning, they were very uncertain, which I understand.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah, and I can respect it, but they're also themselves entrepreneurs, so they know the price they have to pay. And I said, I don't want the ignorance tax, and I want to know it now. And I think, honestly, I think this is the best investment I made in my life.
Mm. Yeah. Well, and I appreciate that because there's so many agents that are filled with fear, mostly because to invest in themselves to like pay down that ignorance tax, not because they don't feel like I can help them, but because fear that they won't actually show up and do the work themselves. So they're flushing the money away. That's the bigger fear. And so for any agents out there thinking about, man, I don't know, this coaching thing's a big investment, it's a big commitment. What advice could you give them to help them maybe take that next step to get to where you are in such a quick time?
First, coach with Brandon. That's first. That's first. Listen, I have to give you your props now. I have a lot of love, a lot of appreciation, a lot of gratitude for you because not only have I changed in my sales ability, but I've also changed as a person with mindset, physically, just spiritually. I'm a different person than I was a year ago. And that's a lot of what you talk about. You have to go through the mud to recreate yourself and then become the agent that's taking 3 to 4 listings per month. But as far as the agents that are thinking about getting into coaching, I it's you're always going to be scared. You're always going to be worried about what's going to happen next. But what we can control is what we do today. And if the opportunity arose where you find yourself on a consultation with Brandon Morenin, understand this. He's never going to sugarcoat anything. He's never going to tell you the easy way out. He's always going to tell you the truth. And he's going to expect you to actually do the work. Although Brandon, I think, is a magician, in my opinion, he is not going to do the work for anybody else. You got to do it for yourself. So if you come in here with the mindset, oh, I'm going to take a script, I'm going to do this, take a couple listings a month right away, get that mindset away. Come in with having a submissive mindset. Let me submit to the coach. Let me absorb his knowledge and let me do what he's telling me to do. Because I know a lot of people that they just don't follow instructions. It's like, dude, just get on the phone, speak to people, get better, speak to more people, go on more appointments, take listings. It's very simple. But that is my piece of advice. I would 100% recommend anybody to join Brandon Morenin if they are under the mindset they're gonna actually put the work in. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Well, man, Joe, I really appreciate the kind words, truly. And again, it makes what I do special to be able to work with people such as yourself because you're a manifestation of what I do. And the life that you're going to create, the legacy you're going to create, we didn't really talk about like your future vision and what you can do with this business and what you can do for your family. Um, I guess that's a good place to end is like when you really look into the future and your big vision of like what you can do with this business and what it will allow you to do for yourself and for your family and your future family. Can you share any of that with us?
I love to help people, and I hope maybe I'm fortunate enough, maybe 10, 15 years down the line when I really build a really big business, that I hope I can be in your seat and helping other people to learn how to do it. Right now I have a little Discord with about 30 agents, and we get on the phones every single morning. And the good thing about the Discord, I remember you were talking to Tucker about it a couple of days ago on the YouTube, is you get real-time feedback. And unfortunately, when I was up and coming, which was like a year ago, a lot of people in the Discord would give me advice. They would give
Yep.
me advice. They would tell me, and I've always appreciated that. So now, sometimes I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm sometimes I am able to help other people, and when I see that light go on in their head, and I see like them say something that I said, maybe you should try this frame, and ask this question, and then they get an appointment, I feel good about that. I feel really, really good about that. So um, maybe I see myself doing that in maybe 10, 15 years. But the goal and objective is in 10 years, maybe start a couple of brokerages and just scale that. And I really see myself doing it because I love helping people, and I also love sales. So
Yeah, I love it. I love sales too. And you're right. I mean, there's no better feeling than pouring into somebody and watching them succeed through what it is that you're teaching them to do. And you get better by teaching others. That's the other thing in those
yeah,
Discord,
yeah.
right? So when you're the one that everybody's watching, you're going to do things, right? And our prospecting challenges is a great example. When newer agents are watching you prospect, they're listening to you prospect, you're on stage, so to speak. You're going to do things that otherwise you wouldn't do if no one was watching, number one. And then number two, when you hear them, you say, okay, I'm going to teach them. Really, you're teaching yourself, right? That's the whole process of coaching. It's amazing.
100%, 100%. It's so funny, because we got into the Discord, and you want to show off. You want to
That's
show like
right.
I
Yes,
want at least when you're doing 16 appointments, in a month, 12 the next month, you're doing something right.
that's
So then
right.
you become more confident, and you're like showing off, not showing off, but showing that you have the ability. So
Showing you are putting on display all of your hard work. That's a better way to
yes,
put it. You're
yeah,
putting on display for everyone to see because you deserve it. And you say, listen, this is 2 years of walking through the mud. Here's what it sounds like now. Here's
yeah,
what it looks like today.
yes,
And you go out
100%.
there and score 40 points. I'm a
There you
basketball
go.
guy, right? That's all you're
Yeah.
saying. You're saying, listen, you've been working your rear end off for 2 years. It's like, okay, let me go on the court. Let me get a 40 piece and you guys
I
can
feel
watch me
I
do
feel
it.
like Carmelo Anthony right now. Every
Yeah.
time I'm getting on the phone, I'm just switching from three, and that's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah, man, I really, really, Joe, I really enjoyed this conversation. Truly, like I had so many nuggets. You talk about learning, right? I learned a lot, and what really moves the needle for someone going through this process as a new agent. So, man, I really appreciate this.
And last thing, can I make a recommendation?
Please,
Listen, next time this year, September 3rd of 2025, book us down because we're gonna have another banger, and it's gonna be fantastic.
done in the books. I'll schedule it. We'll do another pod, and we'll publish it to show people that transition. But Joe, truly, man, appreciate this.
Thank you so much, Brandon. I've learned a lot. You teach me a lot of stuff, and I can't wait to keep learning with you.